This is where England rises from chaos and steps into the Age of Iron Kings. When Henry II of England was crowned in 1154, the kingdom he inherited was not a realm at peace, but a land exhausted by nearly 2 decades of civil war. Castles rose like scars across the countryside, built without royal permission. Local lords had grown used to acting like kings. Law had splintered into a patchwork of local customs and brute force. England was not broken beyond repair, but it was dangerously close. Henry did not arrive as a passive heir, he arrived as a force. Born in 1133 at Le Mans, Henry was the son of Empress Matilda, daughter of Henry I of England, and Geoffrey Plantagenet, Count of Anjou. His claim to England had been forged in the bitter struggle known as the Anarchy, when his mother fought King Stephen for the throne after Henry I's death. His claim to England had been forged in the bitter struggle known as the Anarchy, when his mother fought King Stephen for the throne after Henry I's death. As a child, Henry saw war not as legend, but as lived reality. He learned early that crowns were defended with strategy, speed, and relentless energy. By the time he secured England in 1154, thus Stephen's death, Henry already ruled Anjou, Maine, and Touraine through his father. 2 years earlier, in 1152, he had made one of the most politically significant marriages of the Middle Ages. He wed Eleanor of Aquitaine, recently divorced from King Louis VII of France. Eleanor brought with her the vast Duchy of Aquitaine, a territory larger than the French king's own royal domain. Suddenly, Henry controlled lands stretching from the Scottish border to the Pyrenees. Historians later called this collection of territories the Angevin Empire, though it was not a single state, but a web of feudal holdings bound together by Henry's authority. It made him more powerful, in territory at least, than the King of France, who was technically his feudal overlord for his French lands. Henry was in his early 20s, red-haired, broad-shouldered, and famously energetic. Chroniclers describe him as rarely still, constantly riding, hunting, inspecting, judging, or negotiating. He remembered details of legal cases and the names of minor officials. He ate quickly, slept little, and governed on the move. His court was not a place of idle ceremony. It was an engine. His first task was to rebuild royal authority. During Stephen's reign, barons had erected unauthorized fortresses, symbols of private power. Henry ordered many demolished. Royal lands were reclaimed. Sheriffs who had abused their offices were removed. The royal treasury, managed through the exchequer, was strengthened, ensuring the crown had reliable revenue. Order returned not through a single dramatic act, but through hundreds of administrative decisions. Yet Henry's greatest legacy would not be territorial. It would be legal. Before his reign, justice in England was inconsistent. Local lords dominated courts. Outcomes varied wildly. Henry expanded the reach of royal justice, making the King's Court the ultimate authority in legal matters. He sent itinerant royal judges across the country, hearing cases in the King's name. This was revolutionary. The King's law now followed the people. In 1166, the Assize of Clarendon established procedures for criminal justice. Juries of local men were required to report suspected criminals. Royal courts increasingly handled serious crimes. Over time, this system evolved into what we now call English common law, a body of precedent-based legal principles that would influence legal systems across the world. Henry did not just rule England, he reorganized how justice itself worked. But power always creates friction. Henry's reforms inevitably collided with the authority of the Church. The central figure in this clash was Thomas Becket. Becket had begun as Henry's friend and chancellor, a capable administrator and companion. In 1162, Henry made him Archbishop of Canterbury, expecting a loyal partner who would help bring the Church under clearer royal control. Instead, Becket underwent a profound transformation. As Archbishop, he became a fierce defender of ecclesiastical privilege, The dispute centered on whether clergy accused of serious crimes should be tried in royal courts after church courts had judged them. Henry believed no one should escape royal justice. Becket resisted, arguing for the church's independence. Their conflict escalated into a constitutional crisis. Becket went into exile. Negotiations dragged on 4 years. In 1170, tensions exploded. After Becket returned to England, but continued to defy royal policies, Henry reportedly uttered words of frustration that 4 knights interpreted as a command. They rode to Canterbury Cathedral and murdered Becket before the altar. The shock reverberated across Christendom. Becket was hailed as a martyr. His shrine became a major pilgrimage site. Henry, though he had not explicitly ordered the killing, bore responsibility in the eyes of many. In 1174, he performed public penance, allowing monks to scourge him, a dramatic act of humility that helped repair his standing with the church. Even amid this crisis, Henry's rule did not falter. He expanded English influence into Ireland after Norman lords began conquering territory there in 1169. Henry crossed to Ireland in 1171, asserting overlordship and laying foundations for centuries of English involvement in Irish affairs. He dealt with Wales through a mix of campaigns and diplomacy. In 1174, during a rebellion, he captured King William the Lion of Scotland, forcing him to acknowledge Henry's overlordship through a Treaty of Falaise. Though this arrangement would later change, yet Henry's most dangerous enemies were not foreign. They were his own sons. Henry and Eleanor had several children, including Henry the young king, Richard, Geoffrey, and John. Following custom, Henry had his eldest son crowned during his lifetime, but he retained real authority. The young princes, ambitious and encouraged by foreign rulers, especially the French king, grew resentful. In 1173 to 1174, Henry the young king, Richard, and Geoffrey rebelled, supported by Louis VII of France and even by Eleanor. It became a family war spanning England and France. Henry, despite the betrayal, responded with relentless speed. He moved across his lands, suppressed uprisings, and ultimately crushed the rebellion. Eleanor was captured and remained under varying degrees of confinement 4 years. The rebellion marked a turning point. Henry remained powerful, but trust within his family was shattered. Tragedy followed. Henry the young king died in 1183. Geoffrey died in 1186. Richard emerged as heir, but relations between father and son were strained. Meanwhile, Philip II of France, a shrewd and patient ruler, sought to weaken Henry by exploiting these divisions. In his final years, Henry faced renewed rebellion. Richard allied with Philip. Territories were lost. The old king, worn down by conflict and illness, saw his empire fraying. In 1189, Henry died in France. Chroniclers say he was devastated to learn that even his beloved youngest son, John, had sided against him. Whether legend or truth, the image captures the tragedy of his final days, a master of governance undone by family strife. Yet Henry's long-term legacy towers over medieval England. He restored royal authority after civil war. He created systems of justice that outlived him by centuries. He shaped an empire that, for a time, made the English king the dominant power in Western Europe. Unlike his son Richard the Lionheart, Henry did not become a romantic hero of crusades and battlefields. His greatness lay elsewhere, in administration, law, and governance. He understood that power secured by institutions was stronger than power secured by spectacle. He ruled not as a knight of legend, but as an architect of statecraft. When he began, England was fractured. When he died, it was governed by structures strong enough to endure kings less capable than he was. That is Henry II's true monument, not a cathedral, not a castle, but a system of rule that still echoes wherever common law is practiced today.